Inflammation. What is inflammation? It's the mysterious culprit to all diseases, right? You go to the doctor, you have this problem or issue or pain, and what do they say? Oh, it's inflammation. Here, let me give you some medication. So, what exactly is inflammation, and how do we stop it? So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. And this is video number 2 of our gut healing series. I just want to make sure that you know what it takes to heal your gut and why it's important. And this is video number 2, where we are going to cover how to cool down inflammation, how to get rid of inflammation, and why it's happening. You know, inflammation is always considered like a fire. We always say, oh, you want to calm down inflammation, you want to calm down the flame, cool the flame. It's like a fire. And what do we mean by that? Well, sometimes fires are good. Sometimes they're important. They help us cook, they help us stay warm. They serve a purpose. Sometimes we use them. Let's say you're going to do a controlled fire, and sometimes they get out of control. Sometimes they take over and just you can't control it, right? So that's why we often refer to inflammation as like a fire. But we're going to learn why that's happening in your body and how to cool it. And in this video, these are the questions we're going to answer. What is the inflammation? How does it happen? And how do we stop it? So if you've watched the first video, you understand that this is the roadmap that we're following on healing our gut. And last video, we started on the first circle, which was start here, and we set the framework. So if you haven't seen that video, I highly encourage you to go back and watch that video, because that sets the foundation for everything else we're doing. Because if you don't watch the first one, it's going to feel like I'm just telling you, do this thing, take this supplement, and everyone's already doing that. I mean, if you want to know how to eat a whole foods diet, well, there's plenty of videos on YouTube. There's plenty of books at the library or at Barnes and Nobles or on Amazon. There's plenty of information out there. I don't want to bombard you with more information. I want you to have a very clear roadmap so you understand how to heal your gut and why you want to focus on healing your gut first before you decide to detox, before you decide to lose weight, before you decide any other thing that you're trying to fix. You want to focus on healing your gut. And that's what we're doing in this mini series, this series of videos. And we're on video number 2. So again, I urge you, go watch video 1, because it really sets the foundation and it gives you the tool that you need to make sure that it's not just information. It's not overwhelming, that it's something that you can actually do no matter where you're at, whether you want to do a couple things or you want to do a whole bunch of things, because everybody is different. Their body, where their health is different. So maybe they can get away with, just eating salads and they'll be healthy, or taking some supplements, some simple supplements, and then they'll be healthy. But for others, maybe their body isn't as resilient or strong, or maybe they were sick as a child, or who knows why their health is maybe not as strong. Maybe they'll have to do more things. So you're going to have to decide where you're at. And my job is to just give you the information, and even better than that is give you a roadmap so that it makes sense and that it's not overwhelming. So last video, we were on the first one, start here. And now we're going to talk about inflammation and how to lower inflammation in your body. What is inflammation exactly? Now, let's imagine you hit your thumb with a hammer on accident, of course. You were trying to put a nail in the wall. You were trying to, this has happened, but maybe it's happened to you. You want to put a picture on the wall and you get a nail and you're being careless and you accidentally hit your thumb with a hammer. What happens? It starts to throb. It gets red. It gets swollen. Redness, heat, swelling, pain. The pain stops you so that you're like, oh, I got to stop doing that. The redness floods blood to the area. The heat is doing the inflammation. That is inflammation. And we consider that acute inflammation, meaning it happened. Stop hitting your thumb with a hammer. Give inflammation time to do what it's got to do, and then it'll go away. We know that. If you just give it some time, that thumb is going to heal and it's going to be better. That's acute inflammation because it gets better. Chronic inflammation is as if you just kept hitting it with the hammer over and over and over. Let's say every minute you hit it again, and then you hit it again. And over time, your thumb isn't going to be able to withstand you hitting it over and over and over. And that's chronic inflammation. Okay, but this is how we recognize it, or this is what we're experiencing, and this is why we go to doctors, or we want to get relief. Maybe we feel indigestion, or we feel pain in our side. And it could be, they call it, remember, you've probably heard of appendicitis. Anything that has that itis at the end is basically saying it's inflammation. Maybe you're getting headaches from working at the computer a long time, and you're thinking that the computer caused the headache or the straining of the eyes or the stress. Well, really, it wasn't the computer. What was it? It was how we were responding that causes inflammation in our brain, causing a headache. Or maybe we have back pain or knee pain. They call that inflammation, and it truly is. It's just like when you hit your thumb with a hammer. It's just that now it's affecting your knee or an organ or your kidneys or your brain. It's still inflammation. Chemicals are being released by your immune system. So going back to the thumb analogy, you hit your thumb with a hammer. The immune system says, alert, alert, trauma happened on that right thumb. And the blood rushes all the inflammatory chemicals to that thumb to determine what the situation is. Is it a bacteria? Is it broken? Is it bleeding? If it's bleeding, we need to send in chemicals that are going to stop the bleeding, causing coagulation and causing a scab. Nope, no bleeding. So what else do we need to send in? Maybe they recognize it as an infection, or nope, not an infection. Oh, they just hit their thumb with a hammer. Oh, okay, then we're going to send in the chemicals to deal with that. So the immune system is going to rush in to determine what's going on and then send all the appropriate chemicals to deal with a specific kind of situation. So that's exactly what happens in the rest of your body. If it's a pancreas, there's specific chemicals that go there. If it's the bones, if it's the joints, your body knows how to respond to trauma at the organ. Okay, but this is how we recognize it, right? Like back pain, we're just like, oh, I have back pain because I was sitting so long. And we feel the pain, we feel the pain, we feel the pain. Well, that is inflammation. And when we leave it too long, it leads to the chronic inflammation. And that's where we get things like cardiovascular disease, skeletal problem, bone problems, muscle problems that actually turn into diseases, maybe autoimmune disorders caused by something that caused the inflammation that lasted long, became chronic, led to an autoimmune or neurological disorder or diabetic complications, even cancer. So cancer has a root cause, and it started somewhere, and then inflammation set in, and then there was a cycle of more inflammation, and it lasted chronically, which leads to cancer. So how does this happen? It's a trigger. There is a trigger. Something triggered the first inflammatory response. What could that be? Processed foods. So a lot of people eat gluten, and the body doesn't actually like gluten. Maybe it did many, many years ago, but today, the way we process our gluten, it is absolutely inflammatory. Now, some people would say, well, I don't have a gluten sensitivity. Okay, but the gluten today, your body doesn't like it. Just across the board, your gut doesn't like that gluten. Doesn't mean that you can't eat a piece of bread once your gut is healed. And I really emphasize once the gut is healed, because if you have a leaky gut, or if you have a damaged gut, or if you have symptoms, then your gut is damaged and it needs help. If that's the case, you don't want to be doing gluten because it's an irritant to the gut. You're not going to be able to heal your gut if you're eating gluten. That's an example. Other processed foods, sugars and candies and highly processed foods, things that you would find in packages, what is a whole foods diet? It's basically eating good proteins, healthy proteins like, your meats and your chickens and your fishes and things like that are just really healthy meats, and eggs, even dairy, that are in its most natural form. And then, of course, vegetables, things that are in its most natural form. Now, you might say, well, bread comes in its natural form because it's a wheat, right? No, it has to be harvested. And the way they're harvesting it today is just damaging to your gut. But once you heal your gut, you can eat bread. But I wouldn't recommend it to do it consistently because it will start to damage your gut again. So those are triggers. Another trigger is food sensitivities. Some people just have certain food sensitivities. Now, you might have a food sensitivity because you have a leaky gut, and foods that wouldn't normally cause a sensitivity are now going through the gut lining. And we're going to talk about gut lining on the next video. So I'll explain that a little bit further. But some people have sensitivities to certain foods. So it's a good idea to find out what those are because it's a trigger every time you eat it, even if you don't realize. Like maybe it doesn't give you gas and bloating, but maybe it gives you a skin rash, or maybe it makes you flush or hot or red or joint pain that you don't even know about. Food sensitivities, environmental toxins, pesticides, mold, things in the air. As you can see, you can't get away from all these triggers. And that's why it's so important that you're healing your gut, because your gut is responsible for 70 to 80% of your immune system. If you heal your gut, you'll be able to handle a lot of these things better. Gut infections, dysbiosis, bacteria that is in the wrong place or in the wrong proportion, dysbiosis, chronic stress, emotional stress that doesn't pass through becomes chronic stress with a cortisol spike stays high. That, my friends, causes inflammation. Poor sleep and lack of recovery from fitness or whatever. Okay, so this is what happens. You have a trigger that causes an acute inflammatory reaction. We talked about that, like hitting your thumb, remember? If it is not resolved, like stop hitting your thumb with a hammer or stop bending your thumb while it's injured, if you don't resolve the issue or if you don't process an emotional trauma and you're just ruminating over the thoughts, if you just keep ruminating, as you're dealing with this emotional thing, it is causing a low grade inflammation over all day, every day, just a chronic stress. And that leads to chronic inflammation, which actually damages your tissues. Eventually, the pancreas can't handle it. Then it becomes diabetic. Eventually, the joints can't handle it. And then it becomes arthritis. Eventually, you know what I mean? Eventually, those tissues, those organs get damaged, leads to an overreactive immune system, meaning the body is just, all those chemicals are just constant. The inflammatory chemicals are just constant, and that leads to disease. What's important is how do we stop it? How do we stop doing this? How do we calm the flame of inflammation? First thing, we remove the triggers. This isn't that easy to figure out what the triggers are. So what I recommend is you start somewhere. If you are in a room and you notice there's like mold around the corner, that's a trigger. Is it the trigger that caused whatever your symptoms are or your disease? Don't know. It's a trigger though. If you have a lot of fake chemicals in the air, maybe you're using air fresheners from synthetic chemicals, which they all are at the grocery store. Unless you're using essential oils, everything you're breathing, like those scented candles or the scents that you plug in or the scents that you have in your car, those are toxins. They're not natural and the body doesn't like them, and they're triggers. Even though you don't know they're triggers, you may not feel it right away. They're triggers. So was it the mold in the wall? Was it the scent in your car? Don't know. That's why you just want to remove things that you know are triggers, right? But finding specifically what the trigger is, unless you do functional lab tests or you work with a professional who knows how to do the assessments or knows how to gauge what you're feeling and what the the root cause could be. It can be a little bit hard to figure out, but you can do the most obvious things like chemicals in the air, using toxic cleaning products. Those are triggers. Microwaving plastics, they emit chemicals into your food. Those are triggers. Eating junk food, those are triggers. So it's not just one thing. People often say, oh, I'll just eat this one food. I don't know what to eat. I can't even think of right now. Oh, I'm just going to do this one thing. It's not going to kill me. This one soda is not going to kill me. You're absolutely right. This one soda is not going to kill you. It is accumulated over time. And it's the one trigger, like maybe a soda, and the mold and the scents. Those build up and become overflow of triggers. And so for right now, while we're healing our gut, we want to eliminate those as much as we can. But I know that it's really hard to try to just stop doing all the things that we're so comfortable with. That's why you want to use your health grid. And if you don't know what the health grid is, it is a tool that I shared in video number 1. And that tool is going to help you stay organized. So maybe you can turn it over on the back and say, maybe this is a trigger, the scent in my car. Maybe I should stop using plastics in the microwave, or maybe I should stop using plastics altogether. And just start jotting things in your life that you could imagine those might be triggers. And then slowly, one by one, you start taking them out. And maybe you can replace them with something else. Stop using plastic and start using glass. Is that okay? Do you like to do that? Is that going to work? And start experimenting on your own. There is something called an elimination diet. It basically means removing all the potential triggers and keep eating a very bland diet for like a week, and then slowly adding things in one by one for about 3 days and start to see how your body reacts. So you can look that up, an elimination diet, if you want to do that. It's not a way to live. It's only a way to figure out what could be the trigger. And then the next thing you want to do is restore balance. That means eating foods that are anti-inflammatory. And what kind of foods? Like your vegetables are anti-inflammatory. Your bone broths are anti-inflammatory. If you do grass-fed beef, that is anti-inflammatory. If you do conventional beef that is not grass-fed, it is inflammatory. It doesn't mean don't eat it. If you can't afford or you don't want to buy grass-fed for whatever reason, but I would still recommend you eat, even if it's conventional meat, because your body can deal with those inflammations from the meat. But grass-fed beef is inflammatory food, as anti-inflammatory food. What else? Things like lemon in your water. Whole food that you're familiar with is anti-inflammatory. Gut healing nutrients like bone broths and vegetables and fermented foods. Things like that are gut nourishing. And you can even do a quick Google search like, what are gut healing foods? And they'll give you a list. And then what you do, instead of getting overwhelmed with these lists, because if you Google, give me gut anti-inflammatory foods, the list is huge and it's overwhelming. All you want to do is get that list and start choosing a few things from that and start incorporating them into your health grid, slowly, little bit by little bit, because you don't have to do it all. Most people that give you a lot of information, it's because there's so many options and they just want to make sure you have all the options. But it is overwhelming when you try to do everything. So you want to add them in slowly. And that's why we have the health grid. That's why the health grid is so important, because you can do a few things one week, change it the next week, but you can look back and see, did last week work better? Did you like that other thing you did? You could start using your health grid, and week after week, you'll know exactly what your body likes. And then healthy microbiome. And we will get into the microbiome in another video. So I'm going to skip that for now. And then repairing the gut lining. Because 70 to 80% of your immune system is in your gut, that's why we're focusing on healing your gut, even with inflammation. Maybe your doctor said, you have inflammation and that's why you have skin problems. acne or arthritis or whatever. And you're like, well, I don't have digestion problems. Why are we starting at the gut? Definitely start at the gut, because that is the home of your immune system. And it is your immune system that is overreacting in the joints, or overreacting in the pancreas, or overreacting in whatever it is you want to fix. So that's why we're healing the gut first. And healing the gut barrier, we're going to cover that in another video. That is actually the next video. So very important. But right now we're calming the flame. We're cooling things off so that we can heal the gut lining when we get to the next video. Okay, so there's 3 steps. Remove the trigger. And ideally, the best thing to do here is also work with a health professional who can do functional lab tests, who can do assessments, who can walk you through it to remove those triggers, especially if you have something serious like cancer or autoimmune. Having someone help you find a trigger, sometimes you just don't see it. And asking a professional, they can see it from an outside angle. And then restoring balance. Balance meaning you have all these inflammatory foods and inflammation in your environment. You want to lower those and increase things that that are anti-inflammatory. And then you create a balance. And then, of course, repair the gut lining so that you can walk away with some quick wins today. These are some things that you can do right away. You can swap out your processed foods and snacks for whole foods. So if you like French fries, but you're like, well, maybe I should swap out my French fries. What can you swap out your French fries? Get some fresh potatoes and just chop them up, stick them in an air fryer. They're wonderful. And it's super easy because an air fryer is going to do it for you. You don't have to deal with oil. You don't have to deal with turning on the oven. Just throw it in an air fryer. Swap out ice cream for frozen fruit and then put it through a blender or put it through a processor that makes ice creams. Think about things that whatever you're eating now, ask yourself, what can I swap? How do I swap? And everything counts. Everything matters. It's almost like a scale. Remember, we want to balance out the inflammatory things and bring that down and increase the anti-inflammatory so that it creates balance. Maybe adding some turmeric. Turmeric is great at stopping inflammation. So maybe you can want to add that. Ginger is great at stopping inflammation in your gut. Maybe some ginger tea, or maybe just chewing on ginger when you have indigestion, that kind of thing. Praying before your meals causes you to slow down and have gratitude for your meals. And that alone will just make the digestion so much better. Maybe you want to do 5 minutes of breath work before your meals, which will also keep you very calm so that you can digest well. And then maybe you want to try to remove some of those potential food triggers. Try that on your health grid, keeping track on your health grid, and just start to recognize any symptoms. So these are things that you can do right away to get some quick wins. So on the next slide, I'm actually going to take you to a whole other level. Now, before I show you this next slide, I want to remind you, remember I told you that sometimes people just give too much information and it's overwhelming. And it's like, oh gosh, I used to hate it when I was researching something and then you want to figure out what supplements to take. And it's like, take vitamin A and vitamin C and vitamin D and take this herb and this mineral and that supplement. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I would go to Whole Foods and I'd go, okay, I need vitamin A and I need vitamin D and all of a sudden I have all these different things. So ideally, you want to not do that because that's overwhelming and stressful. And honestly, it's too hard to mix and match, right? However, you still have to list those things because people need to know. So sometimes we list those things, but remember, you do not have to do them all. So what I've done is I've given you a short list of what I think is some of the most important things that you can use. I'm kind of forewarning you so you don't get overwhelmed. It's not big, but I want to let you know you do not have to do all these things. You pick and choose. And go ahead and you can screenshot the next screen to get that list. So here we go. This is next level stuff. So In the area of supplements, there is one that I just love, and it's called IgG 2000 by Microbiome Labs. And you can get those. There's a link in the description below for Full Scripts. That is my link to Full Scripts, which is a practitioner grade supplements. I think I even have a discount there. So hopefully that's there for you guys. And you can get Microbiome Labs IgG 2000. Now, this is a really great company, Microbiome Labs. They have great supplements for gut healing, and we'll talk about those later in other videos. But like they have great probiotics and other things. But for now, and I'm only saying that because you might go get IgG 2000 and then watch the next video and say, oh, why didn't she tell me? Now I got to make another order for Microbiome Labs Mega Mucosa, which is what we're going to get for the gut lining. And then Microbiome Labs Mega Spore Biotic, which we're going to get for the microbiome. So you can get it now. I'm going to recommend in the future videos the Mega Mucosa, the Mega Spore Biotic, and I'm going to recommend the Mega Pre, which feeds the the probiotics, and then the IgG 2000. I don't know. I'll see what else is there. I don't know what else I'm going to recommend, but I'm just going to let you know that we are going to cover that later. Okay, so IgG 2000 is incredible for your gut, lowering inflammation in your gut. It actually cools it down, acts the gut lining. So this is just such an incredible product. I wish I could go on and on about that one. Okay, then the next one is essential fatty acids. Some people call them fish oil. It's essential fatty acids, omega-3. So omega-3 essential fatty acids. And you can also get that at the Full Script dispensary, portal, website, whatever. Frankincense. It's an essential oil. It's great at lowering inflammation. You could just put some like this and inhale. You can get frankincense and put it on the back of your neck. Some people, I have heard, and I do it sometimes, but some people actually put a little bit of frankincense on the bottom and their finger and then put it on the roof of their mouth so that it can actually get into the brain. That's frankincense. Most essential oils are anti-inflammatory. So I listed this one because it would be crazy to list all of them, but frankincense is just my favorite essential oil. But I would actually say all essential oils are anti-inflammatory, but I don't know all the essential oils. So let's just say most, but it's probably all. Anyways, the next one is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is great at relaxing you, calming the mind from any stress so that you can just calm down that inflammation. One of my very, very favorite supplements is ashwagandha. And then reishi mushroom or cordyceps mushrooms will lower inflammation. Great supplements. You can get it in tea, you can get it in tincture, you can get it in powders, so many ways. And you can also get it at Full Scripts. So just Google those things in Full Scripts. I do have categories in there for like gut healing supplements you can explore in there as well. Magnesium, you can get it in so many different forms. And that I have that on Full Script as well. Vitamin D3, vitamin K2. These are really, 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 really powerful supplements at lowering inflammation, not only gut inflammation, but systemic full body inflammation. Okay. And then lifestyle. Now, grounding, you've probably heard about grounding, like walking on grass, right? Walking in the sand, placing your feet on the ground. Now, I could talk about each one of these things that I'm sharing with you for hours, but I don't want to make the video last that long. I really want to give you your best stuff, give you the best stuff so that you can move on with your day. But grounding is more important than you actually recognize. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I just want to emphasize how important grounding is. And it's not just walking on the ground, but it's also maybe getting some grounding sheets, maybe getting a grounding mat to put under your desk. And what that does is it has an outlet that connects to the port. So outlets, most outlets have 3 ports, the top 2 and then the one on the bottom. The one on the bottom is a grounding port. And so you plug it in there and it grounds you to the earth. So trying those out. If you were to get grounding sheets and grounding pillow, it'll change the way you sleep. It's amazing. Walking in nature, getting out in the sunshine. Is anti-inflammatory as well. Walking in nature, breathing, looking far into the distance to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and then rebounding. Rebounding actually lowers inflammation. How is that possible? Well, your lymphatic system doesn't have a pump, so you need to bounce, you need to move so that all the toxins can run through your system so that they can come out. So all those inflammatory chemicals have to come out of your body, and they do that through the lymphatic system. So you need to rebound, find some breathing practices. There's lots of them online. Just look for some breathing practices. Prayer will absolutely lower inflammation in your body because it brings you into a parasympathetic state. Now remember, we're here at Spa Life TV, and the whole thing here is learning how to live in a parasympathetic state. It doesn't mean that you have to be like a monk or be Zen 24/7 or just be, it means that sometimes there's things in life that are stressful, but you can process it really quick. You can adapt really quick. That's what it means by living in a parasympathetic state, which we call the spa life. Let's see what else. Processing your emotions. Again, this is not something that you can just say, oh, okay, I'm going to process my emotions. It's something that you're going to work on. It's something that you're going to spend time thinking about. You're going to maybe read books, maybe listen to a sermon, or maybe listen to a video. Being aware of how to process those emotions through. There's a guy, what is his name? I can't think of his name, but his book is called Letting Go. Mel Robbins has a great book out too, Let Them. Awesome book. So there's great books that really teach you how to process some of these emotions. Maybe you actually need to do some trauma release. Other things that I didn't list is like fascia release, doing some fascia release exercises because most of your emotions are trapped in the fascia, which I will be doing more videos on that. But if you wanted to go further, you can do a Google search on fascia release exercises to process emotions. Water with lemon. So that helps flood out the toxins, and lemon with water helps balance out the pH. Water with sea salt to make sure you're getting the minerals that you need in your body. Optimizing your sleep. And again, this is a whole other topic we could talk about for a long time, but learning how to optimize your sleep. At a minimum, getting to bed earlier, getting enough sleep, removing technology from your room, sleeping on grounded sheets, things like that, optimizing your sleep. And then modalities. This is a very short list, but I just wanted to give you some ideas. Sauna is great at lowering inflammation, believe it or not. Even though we're talking about redness, heat, swelling, pain, sauna actually helps detox those inflammatory chemicals that need to process through. But in addition to that, if it's an infrared sauna, the light penetrates through your skin to get to the cells, and it activates the mitochondria. And that alone will help lower inflammation and strengthen your body. And then cold exposure. I told you I was going to talk about cold plunges in video number 1. I just didn't want you to think that all you have to do is cold plunge and it gets rid of inflammation. Now, it is super powerful at lowering inflammation in the entire body. But in conjunction with everything else, I think you've got a really good program, and you don't have to just do cold plunges. But a good way to start cold plunges or doing cold exposure is putting your feet in cold. That's a good way to start. Splashing your face with cold. That's another way to do it. Some people like to do cold after they take their shower, like turn it on cold. That's not my favorite. I liked cold plunges after a breathing class. I usually go to Breathe Degrees in Carlsbad, California. And after the breathing class, we do cold plunges. That's my favorite. Or I do cold plunges at Refuge in Carmel, California. And I'm sure wherever you're at, there's a place. If If not, you have a cold lake or a cold beach. Sometimes if I'm at the beach, then I'll just walk in the cold and try to get it, to my knees. That's good cold exposure. Cryotherapy is another great cold exposure. So there's lots of ways you can get cold exposure to help lower inflammation. And then hyperbaric is about getting oxygen. More oxygen in there will help lower inflammation. And again, I could talk forever about that. Massage therapy helps move things around, helps with the fascia, helps the processing those chemicals out. And then, of course, my favorite, having a spa day to lower inflammation. So this is a big list, and there's more. There's lots more. And here at Spa Life TV, our whole function is just to learn how to incorporate this into your real life. So first step, get your health grid, print that out, and start putting these things on. Maybe this week you're going to try grounding. Maybe this next week you're going to try getting a massage. Doing a little bit every week will have a cumulative effect, just the way doing the triggers over time had a cumulative effect that led to disease. Doing the good things over time has a cumulative effect to vitality, to optimal health and living the spa life method. This is what the health grid looks like. If you didn't see it or you didn't get it yet in video 1, or you're just starting here with video 2, this is the health grid. This is how you stay organized so that you can plan your life, so that you can live with intention. And again, I urge you to go watch video number 2. This will all make more sense. So this is the roadmap that we are on. We just finished lowering inflammation, and we did the first one last video, and now we're doing lower inflammation. And the next video, we're going to talk about sealing and healing the gut lining, which is going to strengthen your ability to lower inflammation. Right now, we're calming the flame. The next video, we're going to learn how to optimize that gut lining, which is a powerful organ, is that gut. I hope you feel empowered and inspired, and I hope you understand inflammation a little bit better, and you feel empowered to really start working on lowering that inflammation. Are we healing the gut yet? Not exactly, but we're cooling the flame that's causing the problem in the first place. We're cooling the triggers. Are you going to be able to find that trigger right away? Hopefully, that's the perfect scenario, but maybe not. Maybe it's going to take time. Or maybe you do need to go find a practitioner to help you, or talk to somebody that can help you figure out that trigger. And more than likely, it's not one trigger, it's multiple triggers. But you don't want to be overwhelmed with that, which is why sometimes you want to get help. Okay, so that was the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you in the next video on sealing and healing the gut lining.